The International Finance Corporation is investing $10 million in Kenyan internet-based food market platform Twiga Foods. The money should help the company to scale up its fresh produce buying for direct sales to select formal markets. Since it launched operations in 2014, Twiga has grown to work with over 14,000 farmers and 6,000 vendors in Kenya. Along with the investment, IFC's advisory services team will work with Twiga to support farmers in improving food safety, environmental and social practices. Over the past 3 years, IFC has invested over $1.5 billion in telecommunication technology and startup companies globally. Now, for more on this, I have Twiga's CEO, Grant Brook, with me in studio. Thank you very much for joining us. Yes. So $10 million, that's a huge investment. What's next?
Yeah, so Twiga will be using these funds to reach out to more farmers, to add more products to our product line, to expand into food FMCGs like rice and flour and cooking oil that we'll be putting upon the distribution network, and hopefully move from serving about 2,200 vendors a day up to about 4,000 vendors a day.
Okay, so we know that you connect the vendors with the suppliers who are the farmers. You collect the produce from the areas, but a lot of these areas in Kenya are really poor when it comes to infrastructure. So how do you go around that while still making your profits?
Yeah, so one of the real powers of Twiga is we have collection sites in 29 counties throughout Kenya. So as areas come online and go offline due to infrastructure concerns, weather concerns, we're able to work with farmers in other areas to bring food into urban settlements.
Okay. Well, and there have been concerns that your prices are not competitive enough for the farmers. So yeah. How are you addressing this problem?
Yeah, so Twiga has a number of different schemes by which we work with farmers. We have long-term contract farmers that we work with across the year, where we'll generally price over their price of production. We target about 50% above their price of production, which is usually a good deal for the farmer. We also have spec buying pricing across the country. And where you get pushback from farmers is some areas just don't have a lot of volume at a given time, so prices in that area will go up, while in other areas we flooded with product and prices will go down quite a bit. So while we might not be sourcing in one area, we'll be sourcing in another area at that given time. So some farmers experience low pricing.
Right. But do you give farmers, or should I say, do you guide them during the whole production on what I'd call safe agricultural practices?
Yeah.
Are you involved?
Yeah, so at all of our centers, once a month we have a town hall for farmers. And now Twiga's pursued agreements with CalRO, the Kenyan Agriculture Research and Livestock Organization, and KEFIS, the regulator on food safety, to start to bring in the domestic standards for pesticide usage and for safe agricultural products, which is really a first in the market. Because so much of the market and so much of our buyers have been buying from the informal markets before, right. Just bringing in some level of standards is a big step forward.
Right. So 14,000 farmers, that's really a huge number when you think about it. In a country where technology still is a problem, especially for these farmers in rural areas, yeah. How much of a challenge is that, and what are you doing to address it?
Yeah, so a lot of our farmers aren't particularly adept at technology. Kenya also has an aging farmer problem where our average farmer is just short of 60 years old. So they're also not the earliest adapters of new technology. So all of our centers, we have staff with agronomists who can mediate the technology experience for the farmers as they book in a product to our client relation management system to plan out when they're going to give stock to us.
But what would you say is the biggest hurdle that you have to contend with?
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle in Kenya right now in agriculture is human capital. It's that a lot of people own land all over the country, own a lot of land all over the country. I have 500 acres here, I have 600 acres here, and they can't find people that are capable to go manage it on their behalfs. Right. So when Twiga's looking for suppliers that are maybe farming 20, 30 acres, a larger lot than your smallholder, we're having a hard time finding people to go and manage property to farm that land.
Before I let you go, yeah. I've got some friends of mine who are farmers, and somebody said you have to ask him this question. Yeah. What is the difference between Twiga Foods and the middlemen?
Yeah. Yeah. So what we say at Twiga is be an economist, not a broker. We're looking to create long-term systemic change in how food reaches vendors in urban areas. And the number one way we can do that is because we have so many vendors buying from the platform. We know what our demand is going to be day in, day out. So for farmers looking for a long-term partner, for farmers looking for somebody they can sell to once a week or once a month, year after year, Twiga will put them under contract and guarantee they can build a business off of our buying power.
All right, Grant Brook, thank you very much for coming to speak to us tonight.
Thanks a lot.